Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Timothy here. Thanks for joining me. We are going to be doing an Hour of Devastation draft. Still looking for that elusive fifth trophy that can't seem to get our hands on. The 2-1 seems to be where we're stuck at the moment, which is fine. Um, I'll take 2-1, but we're really looking to 3-0, so let's open something sweet here. That is something sweet. We have the namesake card, Hour of Devastation. 5 mana red sorcery, deals 5 damage to all creatures, and it gets through indestructibility, or indestructible as it's called. Pretty sweet. Definitely going to be the pick here. It's a very strong card, and we can kind of warp our draft around it, having first picked it. There is also a Bloodwater Entity and Fervent Paincaster and Ambuscade in this pack, which are all solid. There's also Sandblast. I would love to get Bloodwater Entity back and just end up red-blue, but we don't know how we're going to go yet. This is also a card that I think people pick very highly, even though I don't think it's like an amazing card. I think it's just very good if you happen to be red-blue. Not the type of card I'm actually splashing for in other decks either. Paincaster, I think, is solid. I would not mind first picking this. I would take Ambuscade over it, but we're going to take the board wipe, and I'm fairly happy starting off with a board wipe. I always like having these sorts of reset buttons in the deck. Although this one's a little harder to draft around because it is going to kill most of your own creatures as well. But it's fine. It's going to be a little bit less good in just like a straight up aggro deck than it would be in a more controlling deck. We see some good options here. There's another Bloodwater Entity, which this is the type of card that you want in red-blue. There's also Open Fire and Resolute Survivors, plus Devotee of Strength. I think this is a fine playable. It's slightly better than like maybe the best green creature at common, but not a slam dunk card either. I think this is going to be an easy Open Fire. I don't know what my second color is going to be yet. Like I said, Hour of Devastation is a little bit worse in an aggro deck, so Survivors doesn't look as appealing as Bloodwater Entity here, and Open Fire is solid and sticks on color. Passing some signals to the left that, green is going to be fairly open, and some of these red combinations are going to be fairly open as well, but Open Fire is a nice follow-up to Hour of Devastation, I think. Pretty happy with it. Imminent Doom. No, Burning Fist Minotaur sticks out immediately. If I were doing like some blue-red control deck, I'd probably still just take the Minotaur. It's enough better than everything else. Sometimes I really want to try Imminent Doom, and then I just remember that it's kind of garbage. You have to draft a deck that's like, there are decks. I think somebody actually played a constructed standard deck with this at the forefront at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation, but we're going to just take the best card in the pack, which is Burning Fist Minotaur, followed up by possibly Dauntless Aven and Mana Core Eternal. I do like Mana Core Eternal, but this is a solid card and leaning towards aggro, but do what we can. Kenner Scrapper. All right, well, if we end up in a red aggro deck and we just have a reset button in the deck, then that's decent as well. This does lose a little bit of its value if it's killing a ton of our own creatures, but that is fine. I am seeing some pretty good red cards coming to me, so getting this third pick is a nice sign. I think people value it highly. Scrapper's also very good. And we're just going to start off with 4 really solid cards. Green's still looking fairly open. Gift of Strength's not really a sign, but Bitterbow is a good card. Scrapper will definitely make it. And looks like red is running dry, but we're also seeing quite a bit of blue. Red-blue is where I'd want to be. Unfortunately, the best blue card is a Desert, which is going to look like a bad pick if we don't end up actually taking blue. So we'll just stay on color for now, take a red card, which is a fine red card too. I happen to like it a good bit. We'll go ahead and snap the Frontline Devastator. No, not today. Spellweaver Eternal or Unsummon is what I'm looking at. Hope Tender is also good, but we're looking at these two. I would probably pick up this Desert if I had a payoff for it, like a Sand Strangler, but red-blue is calling my name right now. Spellweaver Eternal fits the aggro strategy a little bit more. Unsummon fits the control strategy a little bit more. I like kind of taking the Eternal here. We might not end up playing blue anyway, but if I do end up blue-red, it's more of an aggro-based deck. Here, Spellweaver, Gilded Ceradon. There's also a Ronus' Stalwart. That's very late. Jeru can't seem to shut his eyes for some reason. I'm not entirely sure what his problem is. But this card's bad. Don't ever play this card. I don't care if you have a Gideon in your deck. Please don't play Jero. You're doing yourself a huge disservice. Do I want another 2-drop or do I want a Ceradon? I'm leaning towards just another 2-drop here, and we'll go completely aggro. Ceradon's fine. Ooh, this is the type of card. Oh, these are both the type of cards you want for red-blue. Unfortunately, Riddle Form is not a combo with Hour of Devastation. I hear people like this. Ooh, Quarry Beetle as well. I don't like Proven Combatant, so I'm between these two. Archer, I don't love. I don't think this card's great, even though it's better in red-blue. Let's try out Riddle Form. I'm not super impressed with Riddle Form, but it's playable. All right, a bunch of playable but not fantastic cards here. Maybe Reed Stalker's the best for us. We also have Granitic Titan, which can cycle and is a decent late game beater. Countervailing Winds would be fine if I had some sort of payoff for cycling. Reed Stalker's a solid card, though. We'll take it. Ooh, this guy came back. I mean, oh, I didn't mean to take that. But I actually probably would have taken Strategic Plan in there, but oh well. The double click. The double click. That was the pack with no, neither of the Bloodwater entities came back. Because the pack with the survivors was the one with the second with the second Bloodwater entity, and the first one was in the pack with Hour of Devastation. So neither of them came back as expected. As much as I want to just take a foil rare here, I'm probably just going to take Survivors Encampment. Who knows? Maybe I can splash Survivors, even though it doesn't seem necessary. And if I get a Desert Payoff, I didn't pick any up, so be happy to have it. These cards both suck. Seer is just not a card that I want to play outside of a very, very dedicated mill deck, which I watched someone draft yesterday. Spencer, I'm talking about you. Take defeat for the sideboard. I'm not in love with Countervailing Winds. Riddle Form might not be great either, and I'm going to look to not play Cunning Survivor. I don't even need to play this Desert if I don't end up with a payoff for it, or if I don't end up splashing at all. Foil land, non-foil land. Guess we'll take non-foil land. All right, not a bad start. We don't necessarily have to be blue, but red is definitely happening here. Follow up with Show Me a Locust God. The Mirage Mirror is fine. There's a Puncture and Blow, which won't come back. There's also a Red Desert. Mirage Mirror is a card that I like quite a bit. It's a little bit slow. It's a little bit clunky. It is nice with our Hour, where it gives me something to do on board after I wipe the board. Puncture and Blow would also just be a solid pick here. I'm going to try out the Mirror, though. Ooh, a Braid. Nice. There's also an Aerial Guide. This pack's pretty loaded for us. It's very likely if I get a blue card back, which I will get a blue card back, it's probably going to be Strategic Plan or Countervailing Winds. Aerial Guide is a high pick. Minotaur's a high pick, but I'm not going to pass up a Braid here, I don't think. This is one of the most efficient removal spells in the set. What's happening? Oh, okay. Farm to Market, not quite what we want. Strategic Planning, Frontline Devastator, Defiant Kenra. All right, well. Yeah, why can't there be a desert in this one? I guess we'll go ahead and take Strategic Planning here. I mean, Devastator's better, but I do like playing the first Strategic Planning. Ooh, Aerial Guide, Desert of the Mindful. I think we're just going to snipe up Aerial Guide here. Doesn't look like I'm going to end up getting a lot of deserts or cyclone deserts in this draft. I'm just prioritizing playables a little bit higher than them, unfortunately. Even though that might be wrong. Like, I do think Aerial Guide is high enough upside. Like, if there was a desert in the last pack, I definitely would have taken it over Strategic Planning. But I don't think I'm going to get many of those back. This is not the desert I'm looking for. How do I feel about Imaginary Threats? It's not a card I've played with before, mostly because I think it's bad. I don't have a need for Ipnu Rivulet at the moment. Imaginary Threats could be playable. Creatures target opponent controls have to attack, and then they don't untap during the next untap step, but you can also cycle it. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll take it. I don't know how good it's going to be. It's probably really bad against aggro decks and okay against certain control decks, even though control decks tend to have a bunch of defenders that can't attack anyway. So I don't really know. I don't think it's a good card. Here, Last Mercy, not happening. Crook is not great. Granitic Titan, Kindled Fury, Proven Combatant. I do not like Proven Combatant. I don't care how aggro you're trying to be. I think the card's just bad. You should not play it. I think it's just bad. I'll go and take Titan here. Not too happy about that pick. These are the type of packs where we want to pick up the Cyclone Deserts, but they're not in there. Like, Granitic Titan's a pretty low end playable. It's not that good when you cast it, and it doesn't cycle very cheaply either. I mean, it's fine. There are times you'll win a game by just having a 5/4 menace, backing it up with removal. And our removal looks fine right now. We have a Braid, Open Fire, Hour of Devastation. Kind of nice little catch-all here. Happy to start off a draft with it. I also think it's actually worth a couple tickets online, which is nice too, but that's not really the deciding factor here. It would be some amount of the time. We could take another 2-drop, a Crash Through, or another Strategic Planning. Actually kind of like the Crash Through here. I don't love the second Strategic Planning. Crash Through at least cycles itself. I guess so does Planning with a little more selection. Doesn't look like giving my creatures Trample is going to matter too much in this draft. I do have a pretty low creature count. I don't know about this Riddle Farm at the moment. The problem with Riddle Farm, and I've mentioned this in a couple other videos, is that a lot of times you're holding up cards like Unsummon, Abrade, stuff like that. You're doing it at instant speed, which means Riddle Form will only be active on your opponent's turn. You're not going to... I mean, you can run out like removal on your turn. It's better if you have cards like Puncture and Blow, stuff like that. I'm going to go and take another Survivors here. I'm not going to play a second Granitic Titan. Don't care too much about... I'm definitely not playing a third Strategic Planning. Hour of Blades or another 2-drop. I think at this point I kind of want a Spellweaver Eternal, even though I do like Hour of Blades. This was the pack that had the Aerial Guide and whatever the other card we were looking at. Was it Puncture and Blow in this pack? I don't think that was this pack, but the Blue Desert maybe? Sure, let's take a third Spellweaver Eternal. Let's go and take the first Countervail and Winds at this point. Could be playable. Just nothing I care about here. Alright, well, we're set against blue decks. We have double Jace's defeat in the sideboard. We need a little bit more to make this good. We need like an Angler Drake or something like that. We didn't see any Ominous Sphinxes. We don't have any top-end beef to kind of close out the game with at the moment. Granitic Titan doesn't really count. So we're looking for, a big bomb. I would even take like a Curator of Mysteries or something like that. Just a strong flying creature, Angler Drake. Glyph Keeper would be amazing. The Bringer of Glory would be fantastic. All right. Come on, hook me up. Ooh. Does that count? Is that what we're looking for? Insult to Injury is an incredibly strong card. We're definitely going to take it here. Pack's good. Has a Black Cartouche, a Cast Out, a Gust Walker, a Talkrop Elite. So loaded for white. Unfortunately, if we get either of these back, I'll be pretty reasonably happy. I could even play Floodwaters, but Insult to Injury is a bomb. A little bit worse in my deck where, I don't have too much to really capitalize on it, but it's fine enough on its own. Even as a 6-mana card, deal 4 to a creature, deal 4 to a player is pretty good. Trial of Zeal is a nice follow-up. Again, just more removal, even though at this point I would like to prioritize some creatures. If we pick up a blue cartouche, it'd be very nice, but I'm not going to pass it. I'm pretty happy with it. Nefcrop Entangler. Ooh, there's a blue cartouche. Do we just want that over the Entangler? Ooh, that's a tough decision, actually. This is really good. It's nice with our Spellweaver Eternals. We have 4 creatures we can play on turn 2. Naga Oracle. I would love to get this back on the wheel. I would also play Naga Oracle. I'm going to take the Cartouche because I took the trial there. And, oh man, that's a... I thought it was a Nefcrop Entangler. Unfortunately, it is a Wee Mountain. I think Torment and Voice is terrible in this format, even if you're in a spell deck, which I'm not really in a spell deck. Probably just taking this thing. Could also take Floodwaters. But our creature count's fairly low. I don't know if I'll play that or not. We'll see what it looks like. I think this is definitely better than Cunning Survivor. Unfortunately, we don't have really any efficient ways to splash these Resolute Survivors. Otherwise, they would be great. They work fantastically with insult to injury because the exert trigger does deal damage, so they would deal double the damage. Note that afflict is not damage, it's life loss, so it doesn't actually work with insult. Insult does double damage from Hour of Devastation, I guess. Our goal here is to get in a little bit of damage, hope to play Hour of Devastation to some sort of profitable effect, and then finish up the game with some more little guys, stuff like that. But I don't know. Emberhorn Minotaur is strong. I'm very happy to take that. Slitherblade still sucks. Always sucked. It will never stop sucking in this format. That's a nice pickup there. It's a strong, aggressive card. It carries our cartouche well. It's generally a menace creature, so menace tends to work pretty nicely when you have good removal, which we do have good removal. At this point, we have 2 ways to deal 3 damage. We have our Hour, we have a Braid, which I guess is another way to deal 3 damage, and blow up some pretty annoying artifacts. New perspectives, is that a thing we're interested in? Probably not. There's a Temet. That'd be nice if I could splash it, but again, just one Survivor's Encampment is not enough to splash a card that you really want to play on turn 2. Ancient Crab's pretty bad. We're not playing Ancient Crab. Guess I'll snipe the foil Temet. Nothing else in that pack. This pack's our deck's missing a little bit of oomph, definitely. Like we could take River Serpent here to that end, or we could take Aven Initiate or another Cartouche. Cartouche would be very good if we had a high creature count, but we only have 11, so I think I'm just going to take a solid flyer here. Illusory Rapins is okay. I think the card's a little bit better than people give it credit for as far as dealing with some very tough to deal with cards. Wow, Gustwalker came back? What's going on there? How do we feel about Onward to Victory? Not very good, I guess. Yeah, just not being able to use Victory is whatever, and Onward's not insane on its own. I guess I'll just take Gustwalker here. I mean, it's probably right to take one of these. Slitherblade is just, it's not making the cut, I'm sorry. It's not going in the deck. Gustwalker coming back is pretty insane. I guess that pack was loaded with white. I mean, we'll take the on-color card. Thresher Lizard's nice. I'll take that. Even just as a vanilla 3-2, it just gives us another creature for the deck. We're going to have to cut some stuff anyway. Pain of Bluffs is interesting. I could go with these white cards having 2 ways to splash in the deck. Take another one. You guys can play those if you want. I will take the 6th Sense here, and we'll finish up. Alright, now the question is, do I want 3 really bad ways to splash white and then possibly play these Survivors plus Temet? That adds a decent amount of power to our deck. We do have other Exert creatures making these a little bit better. Problem is, like, Painted Bluffs basically turns this from a 2-mana play into a 3-mana play and these into 4-mana plays. Survivor's Encampment requires that I already have creatures, but the upside on these 2 is pretty decent. Temet, probably not going to make the cut here, regardless. I don't know. I don't think I want to mess up my mana base. I think I'll just play red-blue, and then if we happen to play against somebody who's pretty great, like super strong, then I don't know, something where this would be decent, we could bring it in. Obviously, like looking back at the draft, it seems like we would really love the Bloodwater entities, but I don't think it was right to take them at the time when we had solid mono red cards. All right, we need to make probably just 2 cuts here. We don't have a lot of high-end stuff. This can cycle. We have 1 5-drop. We're going to have trouble closing out a game, I think. All right, Nimbleblade Kenrick can go ahead and come out. How many strategic plannings do we have? Riddle Form might be good in this deck. I'll probably take out just 1 strategic planning, and this is what we're looking at. Illusory Rapins can deal with some stuff that maybe my removal spells can't. Countervailing Winds is a little bit on the weak side. Let's think about imaginary threats here for a second. So this forces our opponent to tap out and attack us with all their creatures, plus it keeps their creatures tapped down for another turn. And it cycles. The downside is that if we're against an aggressive deck, our opponent's attacking us anyway, and we really need to be able to pressure them back. I don't know. Is it better than just like this random janky counterspell that might not be good in our deck? We could try it, I guess. They both cycle for 2, so there's not a lot of downside to either of them. Countervailing Winds does do absolutely nothing if you don't have a graveyard to back it up. Let's go and try Imaginary Threats. Not in love with it, but there's a time to try everything out. The thing is, we're pseudo-aggressive, so maybe we can muck up the board, take a little bit of a hit, and then hit our opponent back. But we're really leaning on Hour of Devastation to kind of pull us through a game that we're struggling with, and then try to wrap it up by just pressuring our opponent with removal and creatures. We don't have a lot of draw spells or anything like that, but feel like we're missing a little bit of power in these packs, which is why I say maybe these Resolute Survivors would be a decent way to kind of put them in. In some very, very clutch cases, this can act as like mana fixing, but things have to be going pretty well for you to get to the point where that's actually a possibility. Sort by color, looks like we're even red blue split with one extra red card, so we'll just go 8 and 8 here. And I have no desert payoffs, no deserts needed, and no real reason to splash. So Survivor's Encampment not looking necessary either. So we'll do an 8-8 split and hope that things go well for us. Try to win the ring. I mean, maybe we can set up a turn where we lock our opponent's creatures down and then use Insult to Injury to kind of end the game, but we'll see.